Hello, this is Yahweasel in distressingly high resolution. Isn't it freaky? Isn't it weird? The mixture of cell shading and super high res? It's really disturbing, isn't it? Anyway, this is Yahweasel. I recently asked on Twitter and on my Discord server and on the YouTube text posts thing for people to ask me anything, basically, and said that I would respond in a video. I never said that I would respond to everything. I just want to note that up front. I said I would respond to some of the questions, and I also would just like to say no promises on, useful responses. I just said I might respond to some of them. So for people who are curious about me, as anybody who, has attempted to investigate in the past knows, I'm very private, and so I will only answer things to a certain degree, but I'm willing to answer certain things. I'm not I'm not an enigma. And on the subject of things I'm not willing to answer, the questions I've put in a totally random order. I'm not going to answer all of them, and I'm not going to reveal who said what. I didn't even save that. They're just all anonymous as far as I'm concerned. So on the subject of I don't actually answer questions, how old are you? Old enough not to answer that question. Okay, and next question. Someone asks, have you ever watched InuYasha? Which is an anime. I feel like I've watched one episode. I have no memory beyond the fact that I think there is a character who either is InuYasha or is the reason for the name InuYasha, which I think means dog something, and he's like a demon guy who's also a dog or something. Maybe like Ranma 1/2, he turns into a dog when he gets in cold water. I don't know. Somebody asks, are you a communist? No, is the short answer to that question. I am an American who lives in Canada, and I feel like any political questions are colored by both of those facts, because America has, politics in America have gone way past stupid. Politics in America have tribalized, and the thing with tribal, tribal is such a polite word. The thing with cultized politics is that both sides form cults, and neither cult makes any sense, and the cults drift. The cults, you can tell that they're cults because they don't even have a consistent view of reality, from one decade to the next. So they both become quite culty. There is, the cult of the right in America is the one that's more likely to kill you for being who you are, and therefore I don't like that one. But the assertion that therefore I'm a communist is pretty ridiculous. By Canadian standards, I am almost a conservative. Favorite games you've played on the channel? I need a moment to think about that one. I'm gonna let that one roast in the old noodle and come back in a moment. No time for you, because I can just cut this recording. So I think the short version of an answer to this question is that there are many reasons why something may or may not be a favorite. And so there are games that are favorites for very different reasons. I liked BioShock for phones a lot because it was just such a surprise. It was a genuinely good game for mobile phones. I sort of retroactively the Elder Scrolls Travels, the garbage Elder Scrolls Travels games for phones, because I got, by sheer amazing coincidence, one of the lead designers to respond to it, and in spite of my having shit all over the game, he was pretty much on my side. He was in agreement. Bootleg-wise, I love them all. I love all the bootlegs. I really liked Barver Battle Saga because, again, it's the surprising diamonds in the rough, I liked Barver Battle Saga because it was a good game, and there's no reason why it should have been a good game. By the way, the tracking on my eyes in FaceRig appears to have gone completely mad, so my eyes haven't actually, my retinas haven't detached. It's just madness. I love all of the bootleg games because they're just so wacky. I enjoy the wackiness of it. And even when I'm not enjoying myself, that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the game. It's just that what I enjoyed about the game is how wacky it is, which doesn't make it fun to play. I really, really liked Democracy Let's Plays. I kind of would like to get that back going again. The problem is, like, we kind of exhausted the selection of games that are really good for it. But, you know, maybe there could be repeats, or there could be, something new, something interesting, or we could play, like, ROM hacks. That would be an approach. Oh, the Quest for Glory series. I had never played that before. That's sort of the third most popular Sierra adventure series. I love it. It's now my favorite Sierra adventure series. So I mean, I would say, like, the opposite is there's not a lot of games that I have played that I haven't enjoyed. It's just that the way that I enjoyed them might not be the more traditional, like, I had fun playing this game. It's more like, I enjoy the fact that this game exists. I guess the question was favorite games you've played, and again, like, favorite for what reason? The next question is, do I currently have any pets? So no, I used to. For the vast majority of my life, well, I guess not vast majority, for the majority of my life, I had a cat. I had her since she was a kitten. She was a feral cat that, was born, like, in my grandmother's backyard, and my grandmother didn't really want, like, a nest of feral cats in her backyard, so, she was sort of rescued from that situation. I guess rescued is a relative statement, but she was, relieved from that situation, and so the thing about cats is, like, people have these ideas about cats not being very loving or very loyal. And mind you, cats aren't humans and don't experience the human range of emotions. And so the cat's view of you is never going to be your view of cats. But that's the same as dogs. Like, dogs don't understand what's going on when they're in a pet master relationship. That's not how it actually works. Coming back to what I was trying to say, I really loved my cat because she was actually loyal to me in the sense that, like, she was an absolute scaredy cat. She was terrified. If I had guests over, she would just run and hide. She hated people. But she loved me. She loved to sit in my lap. She slept next to me. Like, I moved thousands of miles to a different country. That was move number 3 or 4 or something. And I brought her with me through all of the moves I did in my life because, like, leaving her at home, because of course I had her since I was fairly young, and was living at home. Leaving her at home would have been cruel because she didn't like anybody else in the family. She only liked me. But it's unusual that even fairly young, she would come and sleep on my bed. I wasn't particularly the caregiver for her. I wasn't the one that fed her. She just always liked me, and so she became my cat. But she, in later life, had diabetes and then kidney disease, and diabetes and kidney disease kind of hide each other, or kidney disease hides diabetes in that they have similar symptoms, but diabetes' symptoms are treatable and kidney disease's symptoms aren't, and so you can't really tell if a symptom is coming from diabetes or from kidney disease, and she died of complications related to diabetes about a year and a half ago now. Next question is, do you have something against Craig users who are from South America? This requires so much explanation. Like, if the only way you know Yahweasel is that I make Let's Plays, then the question, do you have something against Craig users who are from South America? Sounds really weird. So this requires a huge amount of explanation. Years ago, I was getting sort of annoyed with the fact that everybody had moved to Discord, and Discord didn't have multi-track audio recording. Mumble had been popular before. Mumble has multi-track audio recording. I liked Mumble. I liked using multi-track audio recording. Multi-track audio recording is really good if you have, yourself and at least two other people, because it allows you to do at least the most basic editing. Like if somebody is having a coughing fit or something, you can edit that out, and you can't do that if you don't record multi-track. And then everybody moved to Discord, and Discord just generally sucks. Like, Discord isn't a very good platform for pretty much anything. But in particular, for, like, content creation, recording Discord output, like, Discord, A, munches your audio to hell, and B, you can't do multi-track recording with it, because they never implemented it. So, to sort of meet people in the middle, I made a bot called Craig. And Craig is just a sort of, it was a long-standing channel joke, and then it became just the name of the bot rather than the channel joke. The channel joke was that, in a couple videos, I had, if this was like a 3D game with voices and such, and somebody said something ridiculous, I would say, oh, shut up, Craig, or something like that. Anyway, so that's where the name Craig comes from. And then, like, if you know my channel art image, it is me with four sort of three dangerous looking weasels and one rather derpy looking weasel. That derpy looking weasel is Craig. That unnecessary backstory. So I built a bot called Craig to do multi-track recording, and, so long as I built it for myself, I needed it for myself, I may as well make it public, and so I made it public. And then it got hugely popular, and now Craig has hundreds of thousands of users and records, let me actually get the real number here, one moment. Records about 4,000 hours a day. Mind you, of course, that's because it's doing simultaneous recordings. There aren't 4,000 hours in a day. And has recorded 141 years of audio. So Craig got hugely popular. Now, one of the things with Craig getting popular is that it doesn't just get popular among people making Let's Plays and podcasts who know what they're doing. It also gets popular amongst imbeciles who don't understand that you can just record your audio locally and feel like the way to record their audio is to find some bot to do it. And it's just like flooded with morons. The specific question was, do you have something against Craig users who are from South America? There seemed to be a pattern for a while that, like, the Craig users were the like imbecile users were overwhelmingly Brazilian. And I had essentially a joke on the Craig server that, like, Craig's users are trying to make me racist against Brazilians because, like, only people coming in and asking questions in Portuguese or broken English asking if we speak Portuguese would also then ask, like, how do I make secret recordings without people knowing? Or, like, how do I got multiple files, one for each person's audio. I don't know, why would I want that? How do I get it all together? Which is, like, the whole freaking point of Craig is that it's a multi-track recorder. So just like the cretins seemed overwhelmingly to be Brazilian. I have since, like, I never thought that, my conclusion was never, therefore Brazilians are all cretins, but I did try to figure out why. What I eventually did and what I figured out was, no, mobile users are cretins. Mobile users are cretins. I separated mobile users into a different support server and then eventually just stopped providing support to mobile users because they're all cretins. And that, like, solved the problem. So do I have something against Craig users who are from South America? Boy, mobile users from South America were really trying to make me have something against Craig users from South America, but it was the problem wasn't that they were Craig users or from South America. The problem was that they were mobile users. I don't know what it is that, like, there's so much complexity here. Like, I have what I call a purgatory server where you have to read the rules and then embedded in the rules is is the link to the real support server, because I don't like dealing with cretins. And mobile users just don't read it, look for a link, click it, and then ask stupid questions. Mobile users don't read, mobile users don't think, mobile users don't understand what Craig is or what he's supposed to be used for. Have I become racist against Brazilians? No. Have I become racist against mobile users? Absolutely. But they aren't a race, so that's fine. Next question, also technological, is what do you use to record your videos? The answer is a lot less interesting. OBS. But there is... So, I'm trying to decide if I can say this. I am a programmer, yes. So do not take I am a programmer to mean that my career is programming. My career isn't programming. That's not, like, my daily job. But I am a programmer. I am, like, I'm kind of that, like, 80s microcomputer upbringing of... Everybody who uses a computer should be a programmer to at least a certain extent. Like, if you aren't capable of even the most basic programming and you're a computer user, then you are a computer waster. Which, as computers become more ubiquitous, that becomes more and more who cares. But I find it bizarre that people can use a computer every day and not just want to program it. Because it's like, I have this massively powerful thing in front of me that can do basically anything that I can make it, that I am capable of making it do. It can do all sorts of things. And of course I should want to program that. And like, people ask, how many programming languages do you know, or how often do you program? If you're a programmer, those are meaningless questions. I program every day. Now, how this is all relevant to, what do you use to record your videos is I automate a lot. So, like, all of these cuts, all of this fast forwarding, that's just automated. So, like, I've recently started cutting out moments where I'm silent just to try and make videos snappier. Even that is automated. Like, I just use FFmpeg's silence filter, and that's that. And to do all of that automatically, you have to be somewhat capable of programming. So, what I use to record my videos, underlying software, OBS. There is just piles and piles of other software that is just nameless scripts that I've written for myself. And then, the next step beyond that is people say, oh, you should open source that. This is what people say when they don't understand what software is or how software works. You can't open source your giant pile of random scripts. That doesn't make any sense. Like, all of this is one-off stuff made for my own use that just fits into only my own ecosystem and is not at all, like, portable or reusable. It's nonsense. So I use OBS plus piles and piles of one-off software written for myself. So, like, for example, oh my God, I'm just going to go into some huge tangent here. I publish on Twitter. I publish a message on Twitter whenever a video goes live, and I automatically add it to the playlist, and et cetera, and et cetera. All of that is just like automated tools using YouTube's API, which they audited me for using because YouTube is wildly incompetent. I even, like, my upload itself, I upload using YouTube's API because why would I want to use their horrific web interface? So Alzarath, who is a fellow content creator, once asked me, if I could share with him my scripts for posting links on Twitter automatically. And the answer is, well, I guess, but no, because, like, along with that script is the script I use to actually schedule all of my uploads. That's just like a giant blob of JavaScript with tons of, like, arrays of, like, a generator for a schedule that, takes my inputs. It's just like, this is not portable software. This is built to my specifications and my specifications only. So, yes, what do I use to record my videos? OBS plus tons of one-off software. Next question is, what brought upon your obsession? Let's rephrase that. What brought on your obsession with bootleg games? I would like to generalize a little bit and say that my obsession is with obscure. What I want is for people to know of me as somebody who does obscure games. So please, let's generalize that a bit. Obviously, bootleg games are often obscure, and so I do play a lot of bootleg games. Also, I'm kind of the only person willing to play through weird, like, untranslated Chinese RPG bootlegs. And so in that sense, you know, I can see why bootleg would be like the first thing in mind. But like all those phone games, those weird phone games that I play, those aren't bootlegs. They're just crap. So there's actually a more general obsession than bootlegs or even than obscure games, which is just obscure sort of computing related stuff that is, and it's there's something very difficult to articulate that is more specific than obscure. Something about, like, I like systems that try to what am I trying to say? I like systems that try to be more than they are, or try to be more than they can be, and fail in spectacular fashion. Or, you know, that succeed, but more often that fail. So, like, I have an HP 200LX. It's probably my favorite possession. It is a palm-top computer that runs DOS. It has a 186 processor. I've never featured it on this channel because it has nothing to do with games, and it's like there's not really a lot to show or say about it, but it's lovely because it's crap. Like, it's sort of positioned itself as a PDA, and as a PDA it's fine, but then, like, there's spreadsheet and database management tools on it, and, like, you can run DOS games if you want to, but, like, the spreadsheet and database management tools are built in. Who would do spreadsheets on a palm top? Like, it's so silly. And this is, like, similarly, like, the early Pocket PCs, they were big on, like, oh yeah, it comes with Pocket Excel and Pocket Access. It's like, who's doing their database work on a Pocket PC without a keyboard? The HP 200LX does have a keyboard, but of course it's a palm-top computer, so it's tiny and ridiculous. And so just like that interface of, wow, they tried so hard, and the hardware is all there in terms of, like, capacity. It can do spreadsheets. It has the speed for it. But what a horrific experience to do spreadsheets or other, like, productivity work on this tiny, hard-to-see screen with this ridiculously small keyboard. So yes, my obsession with obscure hardware is this sort of, like, trying to achieve more than it is. And I guess bootlegs in particular so often try to achieve more than they can be. They'll be like an RPG downgrade of some PlayStation or PlayStation 2 or 3 or whatever RPG to the NES, and they still try so hard and they really don't succeed. The next question is a bit difficult to ask. What to ask? It's a bit. I don't know if it was difficult to ask. Tell me if it was difficult to ask. It's a bit difficult to answer. What is your favorite literary genre? The problem is I don't read. No. So I actually genuinely don't read much. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I don't know why I put the emphasis on books. Audio is the important part there. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. There we go. I have sort of. I'm trying not to say too much about my life. My real job, which is not programming, in spite of the fact that everybody thinks it is, involves a lot of reading, and I don't want to also spend my off time reading. So I prefer audiobooks for fiction. And what my favorite literary genre is, I mean, it's not a genre. Classics? I just like fiction. So I have been attempting to sort of go through all of the quote unquote important classic novels. And I kind of have mostly exhausted that list. There are a few that I haven't read because I feel like among people who know better, they're, famous, but you don't really need to read them. Things like Moby Dick and War and Peace. And God, after having read Anna Karenina, I'm never reading War and Peace. Anna Karenina is a horrible book. And not so they're good horrible books in that they are books that make you think deeply and are about horrible things. Anna Karenina is just a bad book about uninteresting characters who do stupid things. Like it's just a horrible book. So anyway, I guess, I mean, I listen to a lot of classics. Right now, I am reading, quote unquote, I am audiobook reading Romance of the Three Kingdoms, because I wanted to get a little bit more sort of, I mean, it is the most important book in Chinese literature, let's be honest. I wanted to get a little bit more of that background since I'm playing Legend of Sword and Fairy 5 prequel. But what genre is that? Classics? There is no genre that includes both Don Quixote and Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Like, that's not a genre. So yes, I will say one experience that I have repeatedly had while reading sort of the classics, quick vanishing there while I looked up an example. So, of course, some of the classics are feminist literature, and coming at feminist literature that was written like in the early 1900s or in the 1800s from the perspective of 2020 can feel really depressing. So, like, I read Jane Eyre recently, and it's like, okay, I guess Jane Eyre kind of has a degree of independence, but still the book is the story of who she married and who she didn't. Like, it feels so anti-feminist. Like, if literally the same story was published today, it would be so anti-feminist. And I just, like, I intellectually understand that, times change, and at the time that was feminist, but it is so difficult for me to, like, place myself into that mind frame that I read it, and it's just like, I can't, like, when reading a novel, you want to at least partially imagine, like, you not place yourself into the story, but sort of imagine, you want to be able to identify with characters. That was also the major problem with Anna Karenina, is like every character is terrible and flat, and so I can't identify with any of them. But Jane Eyre, like, they're very robust and complete characters, but I can't identify with any of them because these experiences are so detached from the modern time that, like, the knowledge that this was supposed to be feminist is just depressing more than anything. Like, oh, that's what feminism looked like 140 years ago. Oh, that's not great. Anyway, so what's my favorite literary genre? Classics. What game consoles do I own? What game consoles do I own? So, the latest, like, sort of what you might think of as a normal game console that I own is the Wii U. I bought the Wii U because I wanted to play, or I actually bought a used Wii U. I bought a secondhand Wii U, because I wanted to play Super Mario Maker. That was a regrettable decision. That game isn't fun, so oops. But, so I have the Wii U for literally that one game, and then the next one down, I do have the 3DS. I have the 3DS because I travel a lot. Well, no one travels a lot nowadays, but in the before times, I traveled a lot, and, I wanted something I could just play on the go. Nowadays, that is a laptop or my fancy GPD Win Max, which is an incredibly good machine, like a weirdly good machine. So I no longer have need of a portable game console, but it was the 3DS when it was anything. And then, like, for normal sort of desktop consoles, is that a phrase? Does that mean anything? For normal, like, desktop consoles, the next one down I have is the PlayStation 2, keeping modern. No, it's the Ouya! I have the Ouya because of my weird obsession with strange, obscure things. But setting aside the Ouya, it's probably the PlayStation 2. And then, of course, I have lots of, obscure things. I have the I am so lucky that they let me keep it. I have the Bandai Design Master. God, that was nice of them to let me keep the Bandai Design Master. Not that I will ever run it again, but it was nice of them. I have, you know, the Nokia N-Gage. I have several N-Gage 2 capable devices, none of which work right now. Hooray! That's always fun. What other? I mean, I have so many weird handheld game consoles too. I don't. Oh, you know what I have? I have the what is it called? That hugely expensive NT Mini, the NT Mini, which I use to dump NES games, like bootlegs and such. But I don't treat the NT Mini as a game console. I treat it as a dumping machine. So it is technically a game console. I don't really own a lot of game consoles because I am a huge proponent of emulation. I have like the Retro 2 to dump game cartridges. I am a huge proponent of legal emulation, which is why I fucking hate Nintendo and their constant lies about emulation. But anyway, I'm a big proponent of emulation. I emulate lots of things. It's weird for me. I have the Gamecom. I didn't even mention my favorite game console ever. It's weird for me to say I'm such a proponent of emulation because when it comes to handheld game consoles, I feel like part of the experience is how shitty the screen is. And so, like, I like to record the Gamecom and I like to record other like pre-color LCD backlit game consoles, like the Bandai Design Master and the Gamecom, as I said, even though like the Gamecom is emulatable, because you're not getting an authentic experience at all if you're not seeing how shitty the screen is, and that's part of it. So for the sake of Let's Playing, I sometimes prefer the real console if there's a good reason to, but if the emulator experience is the same as the real experience, the emulation is the way to go. So therefore, I don't own many game consoles. I'm not like a collector in that sense. I will briefly, as an aside, say, if you do emulate, then by all means, like, record with the normal, just linear filtering, not even linear, the no filtering, like, just big square pixels, but these games, if it was 480i, it was never meant to be played in big, blocky, square pixels or rectangular pixels. They were not meant to be, like, perfect bricks. They're supposed to be fuzzy. Please fuzz it. It looks like crap when you have these big, blocky pixels. This whole, like, pixel art craze. And mind you, pixel art is great, but it's unrelated. Like, the work from 80s game consoles, the graphics from 80 game consoles is not pixel art, because they knew full well that it was going on a CRT with fuzzy pixels, and so they made the art to be drawn in that way. That's why it has like these very jarring color changes and such, because they're supposed to blend into each other. So yes, if you emulate, please don't emulate in the stupidest possible way with big blocky pixels. It looks like crap. But otherwise, yeah, emulation. Oh, this is a question that I inadvertently answered earlier. Any plans to bring back Democracy Let's Plays? So anybody who never even saw this on my channel, so I hacked the, God, I don't even remember the name of this, RetroArch. I hacked RetroArch. I hacked RetroArch's netplay to take input democratically. So, like, if the majority of people press down, then your character presses down. And it was just doofusy. It was good fun, but it was, like, ridiculous. But we kind of exhausted everything, so I don't have plans to bring it back. I would like to bring it back, but I don't know what it'll be or when. Okay, next is one of those big questions. Were you raised religious or secular? I mean, with that rather bizarre way of phrasing that question, secular. Those are only opposed to each other as like a matter of state. That's a household isn't religious or secular. A household is religious or irreligious. And so I was not raised with religion. That being said, if you take that assumption to mean that I'm an atheist, I don't feel that word is a proper fit. So I really hate talking about religious philosophy, except about how much I despise the Roman Catholic Church. But that's nothing to do with religious philosophy. That's a terrorist organization. But I don't like in general to talk about religious philosophy because ultimately, like, as if any of us are going to convince each other. We're all adults. This is not how this works. But if you're really curious to know, the sort of named philosophy that closest matches my actual thoughts on the matter is called theological non-cognitivism. That is theological non-cognitivism. And, you know, you can look that up if you want to know more about my thoughts on the matter. But, like, the long story short of that is I am never going to make any argument either way because I don't think that any argument makes sense. Like, any argument is coherent only because the human imagination is larger than reality. Next question. Do you have any significant others, plural, and what are your preferences in that matter? Am I a bigamist? Actually, it's weird that... oh my god, I'm about to get... like, this is all tangents. Do I have any significant other, singular or plural? No. I'm alone. I'm forever alone. No, I am at present alone. And what are your preferences? I'm bi. Only because you, like, mentioned significant other S. There's an S there. Like, I personally doubt that I would be in multiple or open relationships, but I, like, so utterly don't care. I think the institution of marriage is, like, ridiculous and probably needs some serious revamping. So the notion that humans are inherently monogamous is a notion created by somebody who has never observed the behavior of any other apes. So that's anyway, yes, that answered that question and other questions that weren't actually asked. The next relevant question is, got any particular kinks? Yes. The next question is, when more Random Game Weekly? So again, for people who haven't, who are not very long time watchers, if you are a very long time watcher, you know what Random Game Weekly is and scratch an itch. So Random Game Weekly, basically, I have tons of games that, you know, like anybody, you end up getting bundles and such, and then you end up with games that you've never played, and so on Random Game Weekly, I just every week played a random game that I owned but hadn't played before. Actually, I didn't restrict it to only games that I hadn't played before, but most of them I hadn't. There are two things. One, it is a lot of work to, like, set up for a new game, and setting up for a new game every week is annoying. And, like, it's sort of self-imposed because, of course, I could just do a crappier job and just like, not care as much. But I tried to make sure that, you know, like, I had a distinct, thumbnail every week, and I had the aspect ratio and such of the video set up right, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just, like, it ended up being a lot of work. And aside from the fact that it was horrifically unpopular, which, I mean, everything on my channel is horrifically unpopular, so that's no surprise, but, like, it was horrifically unpopular, and the amount of work was not matching the amount of joy I was getting out of it, and so I canceled it and Scratch an Itch, which was related, but games from itch.io. And when is it coming back? Probably never. Probably never. The other thing, and I don't think I mentioned this, but at the time that I ended Random Game Weekly, I had played like 65% of the games that I own. I had actually gotten to a majority, which it's probably not true anymore, but, you know, if the goal was to have played most of the games I own, success? Next question is, what's something you're reluctant to publicly admit to liking? What makes you think I'm going to admit it here? The last and perhaps most absurd question is, when is Craig going to get his own playthrough? I'll since this is the last question, I'll leave this as a question to anybody who's watched this. How did it turn into a 40-minute video? I have considered, and I was about to say, I've actually done this. I forgot that I'd done this. Holy crap. I have considered doing, like, a programming sesh like one of these Saturdays, just, you know what, I'm not doing any work on, or I'm not playing a game, I'm gonna do work on WeCaster or something. I have considered doing a programming sesh. The thing, it's so boring. Like, I just, there are moments in a programming, so here's the thing. I do think that people who are very good at programming, and I you know, this is quite stuck up of me to say, but I am very good at programming. I think that people who are very good at programming, there is a value to them, like, doing programming streams and such, because one of the hardest things to learn in programming is how to think. Like, how, when you are stuck or when you don't know the next thing to do, how to approach the problem. Because, like, programming languages are so open, there's so many things you can do, there's so many options available to you, that the only way you sort of know what the best next step is to have done it many, 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 many times. And, like, they can't teach that. That's not something you're going to learn if you get a degree in computer science, because that you can't teach that. The only way you can learn it is experience. And I do think that, like, live programming sessions are probably helpful for that kind of thing, for novice programmers to watch. And you know, when somebody who has a lot of experience gets stuck and then solves their problem, they might go, oh, so when he ran into this problem, he thought this, and he looked at that, and so if I run into a similar problem, maybe there'll be some similar pattern. Like, it helps to set those patterns. The best way is experience, but, you know, I think those, like, that kind of live programming session can actually be useful for that. That being said, I doubt that more than a tiny portion of my viewers are programmers, and probably most of them don't agree with my degree of egomania that I, like, am a particularly good subject for that. And as a consequence, like, I don't know about programming streams. The other side is, like, there's a mood there, you know, if I'm not in the mood to program, I don't want to program. And then at the same time, there's, like, you can think that you're going to accomplish a lot, and then you start at it, and then you run into an unexpected brick wall, and then you end up, like, your programming stream is now you Googling the API to this obscure Discord library or something, and that, you know, watch Yahweasel Google API details, hooray! So, I'm somewhat reluctant, but I would, like, if people want to see me add some features to WeCaster, I would consider doing that as a live stream, and that's the closest they're going to be to a Craig playthrough. And that's it. If your question wasn't answered, that's because it was a sarcastic, silly question, and if your question was answered but uselessly, then too bad. And if your question otherwise wasn't answered, then maybe you asked it after I started recording this video that is somehow almost 45 minutes. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Cheers from Yahweasel.